talk about one of the things being debated hotly on social media, which is the issue of certificate racketeering. You talked about it just a minute ago. Now, the recent revelations of widespread certificate racketeering involving institutions in Benin Republic, Togo, and other countries is, according to observers, a wake-up call to the Nigerian government on the state of our education sector. Now, this scandal exposes gaping loopholes in our education system and institutional failures that have allowed fake degrees to proliferate in the country. Now, in the wake of these developments, the federal government has banned the validation of degree certificates from 2 francophone West African nations, and also launched a probe, which the minister said will be submitted in 3 months. The reports from the probe, it will be submitted in 3 months. Now, the ban was extended to countries like Uganda, Kenya, and even Niger, where such institutions have been set up pending the outcome of the investigation. And this investigation involves the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and also the Education of Nigeria. And 2 countries, as well as the Department of State Services, DSS, and the National Youth Service Corps. The federal government also took further steps in banning 18 foreign universities operating currently in Nigeria, describing them as degree mills, and also warning Nigerians to avoid enrolling in such institutions. The directive also affected 5 universities from the United States, 6 universities from the UK, and 3 Ghanaian tertiary institutions. All right, so we're talking about, schools issuing degrees, certificates that are really, not certificates. Yeah.
When the news got into the media, I wasn't surprised, because
Same here.
I have my younger brother, his driver, one day told him he was leaving. Before he was Jack Robinson, he went to Togo, came back with 2 master's degrees in 6 months. By the time he went back, he came back with PhD. Within 2 years, he has become a professor. He also owns his own university in Cotonou. Okay? Now, each time we meet, I always ask him for his complimentary card. He doesn't want to give me, knowing that I'm a media person and I'm just going to make it public. So when this thing came up, I was looking for his phone number to ask him how his business. Because I was in Cotonou and I saw containers, these metal containers being used as universities. I will blame our supervisory authorities, because if America is far, you wouldn't go there. You could send embassy staff. But Cotonou is so far, you could walk across or use the keke to go and find out. You know what I'm saying? But as we said earlier on, the role of corruption and then lack of transparency, and of course weak institutional structure has been responsible for these things. Those who were planning education in our growing up years, they were not this lackadaisical and laid back. They knew how many pupils would leave primary school for secondary school, and then they plan ahead. They also know how many will likely sit for JAMB, and then they make sure universities grow in that same percentage basis. But here we are, almost 2 million will sit for JAMB, and they will admit less than half. So what happens? Especially when, until recently, certificate was the only visa you have to move on in life in Nigeria. It's only now that skills are started counting. You understand? So we gave room to all of these things, and that's why he said we have a long way to go. I did a write-up yesterday, and I said this country is being run on very fraudulent platforms, and no nation state can survive that. We really need to go back home and do some talking to ourselves as a family, as persons, because this thing starts from somewhere and then graduates to a national level. We must arrest all of this nonsense. It doesn't make any sense.
It was a gradual drift. It started very slowly, because in the 1970s, when Nigeria had 6 universities, only 6 universities, It was very hard to get into a university. And my parents took me to an uncle of my mother who was a professor at Nsukka to see if he can help me get into Nsukka. The professor lost his mind. The professor was very angry, if not for his professorial demeanor or discipline or enlightenment. He would have walked us out of his house. The man lost his temper. The man insulted me. Nsukka is not where a man no man. If you want to get into Nsukka, go and read your books.
Yeah.
Don't come back here again and talk this your nonsense. You don't get into Nsukka with man no man. We were ashamed. We left this house. 10 years later,
Okay.
my junior sisters were looking for admission into the university. We went to the same man because it was my mother's uncle, the extended family member. The man said, "Oh yes, I heard that these results are out. I'll be very glad to do whatever I can do to help. Just keep reminding me. I'll see what I can do." See, standards were beginning to fall
Lord.
without people knowing it. So standards have fallen in Nigeria across board to a point where we have lost our sense of outrage. And a certain American senator called Daniel Monahan once said that any nation that has lost its sense of outrage is destined for extinction. Nigeria is at that point where we were either destined for whatever. So, but the thing is that that's the problem of the society. And nobody really cares anymore. Anything goes. So with the certificates, and it's like we're too certificate conscious.
I need to also.
Sorry, Aaron, before that, let me just put it out there for purposes of clarity that this whole certificate forgery or racketeering we're talking about was actually exposed by an investigative journalist from one of Nigerian newspapers. He himself enrolled in one of these universities in Cotonou, and in 6 months.
60
days. Thank you. He had a degree, and with that degree, he participated in the NYSC program. So that tells you. So it's not just like a figment of someone's imagination.
It's a reality.
It was exposed by an investigative journalist.
That was that university. UK universities are involved because academic standards are very high.
No.
In the UK,
these are privately
owned.
Private institutions from UK. Okay, I mean it's not. They're not operating. They are not operating within UK the way they are operating here.
Okay.
This is their satellite station.
Okay.
Regulation is not or should not be by the UK government or by the Nigerian government.
Okay.
Because education in this case is territorial.
Okay, and
the school is in the community.
Every Nigerian wants a certificate and is willing to pay for it.
So
and then,
I remember a long time ago, a friend of mine, I mean, I left him in Japan, but the family was here. He told me that his son is a university called Concentric University. And I'm like, Concentric, the name alone puts me off. Okay, where is the university? He said, Ikoto-Egbe. How do you, that location alone was enough reason for me to call the boy and say, come, are you okay? How do you go to university in Ikoto-Egbe? I mean, by the time we got to that place, it was just some shops, rows of shops, knocked together, and then they were being trained for degrees. We saw to the end of that institution.
very important.
Yes, at a great risk. Because the man said, we're going to kill all of us. I said, look, before you kill me, I'll kill the university. And we made sure he did. I mean, these things, they've been there. And I think Nigerians also, they are too discharged from governance and government. They no longer care that whatever we say, they will do what they want to do. We too, when you see something, you must say something.
You don't speak out.
If you are not, I mean, some of us have access to media, television, and radio. You must know at least somebody who is in that class. Talk to them. They can find out and make it public. Or if I say go to police station now, I may create another wahala for who is going to report. But maybe you want to write a letter to the governor of your state or any commissioner or do something. Yeah, because We cannot continue this
We
way.
are so disconnected.
The governor is just one person in a state as large as you can imagine, so he cannot see everything. When we see things that are not proper, not well, we should report. I mean, we can't keep quiet.
But one of the Ministry of Education, you, for example, on your own could tell that concentric university sounded so weird. This name in itself shows you that, tells you that something is wrong. Profoundly wrong. Okay, and you looked into the matter and got it resolved. So what are government officials, Ministry of Education, what do they call it, inspectors, why can't they see these things? Corruption won't allow them. It goes back to our number one problem, corruption. Anything happens, anything can happen.
All right, so the Nigerian University Commission, NUC, has come out to list universities that are currently under investigation over this issue of certificate racketeering. And while all of this is going on, a bill to establish 47 new universities has scaled the second reading. This is just as about 56 bills have passed for the second reading to establish federal medical centers in different parts of the country. Currently, there are 52 federal universities in Nigeria, with some states of the federation hosting more than one.
Now,
Really
is it about establishing new universities?
Because the ones we have are, for the most part, non-functional. They are not functioning effectively. You don't have books in the library. The professors are not prepared. The professors are rude and harsh and caught up in their own designs. They barely teach the students. The classrooms are overcrowded. You look, I saw pictures, footages of university classrooms in Nigeria. Some were sitting on the floor, some were standing. Everywhere so crowded. Why don't we improve on what we have? Why don't we put more money into, these are federal universities, put budget more money into education, employ better professors, get those that are willing to teach, get these universities functioning. Before, they were institutions of research. Before, people came from other parts of the world to study in Nigeria, to teach in Nigeria. Now you go there, you're so repulsed by the environment. The environment is not conducive for any form of learning. And we keep passing laws to build more. We should stop, put a moratorium on this passage of laws, or what do you call it? Bills, to build more universities and improve the ones we have, make them world standard.
I'm going to be very specific now. The last academic year, Master of Lagos was given 350 million naira subvention. They spent
350
million. The school spent 1.7 billion naira on power generation alone. Now, until it was stopped, there was a directive to them that they should remit part of their IGR to the government. Of course, we made so much noise against it that they are struggling to sustain, to survive. And you are now, have they now become cash cows that will now become revenue generators for the government? It was the noise that we made in the media that led to the end of that saga. I'm not talking of Ibadan. Go to University of Lagos. You will see the hostels looking so tattered, unpainted, dilapidated, and you wonder how they are still accommodating students in these places. But what choices do they have? Okay, they are doing their utmost. So instead of government going to now create more mushrooms of standard universities, why don't they provide good funding for the existing ones, so that they can be cleaned up and let them look like a university,
all right,
not something else.
Let's come in here, Are, on the issue of the autonomy for universities, and they're supposed to be autonomous.
They are
run themselves.
When they say,
because the subvention is not actually supposed to carry the entire financial burden.
I understand,
okay,
but when you look at our budget, more money is budgeted for National Assembly than education for the entire nation. Abi,
So much
more money. you look at the disparity is so huge. The entire crowd in that place, they are less than 500. And if you say education, you know what it means: primary, secondary, university. So we must begin to think. I mean, move away from odd mentality thinking and come clean and come straight. This country must grow. It must sustain. We have nowhere to go. And we've said it before that if we create crisis here, the entire West African zone will be wiped off because they cannot accommodate us. We are over 200 million, even though we don't have an actual figure of our population. And I think those who are mismanaging this country, they should wake up and say, at what point should we stop? And begin to deliver value to the lives of people. We went through public school. I'm part of public school. I never went to private school all my life. And I can hold my own anywhere in the world. But not anymore. So it's not just establishing 47. Where are those that we teach there? When lecturers are leaving the country in droves every day. Where, I mean, we must, it's not just the name or the gate or the fence. It goes beyond that.
Many lecturers are not motivated. They are tired.
They are living.
Yeah, they can't live a good life. Somebody was telling me that a certain professor was asking her in school to give her fuel money. I said, Professor, asking for fuel? When I was growing up, how can you get that intimate with a professor? Give a professor fuel money. Because the professors were very comfortable.
A man of honor.
They drove Mercedes-Benz, Peugeot, Volvos, and were respected. So the thing is that they don't have the money, they are not motivated, they are not happy. One of my cousins was telling me about his experience at a Bonny State University. I said that, what you guys are in jail, not in school. The kind of way professors behave, the way things are upside down, is more of a prison than a university. So they better increase the budget. The money is there. It's just the priority that we got wrong. Like you gave an example with the House of Rep. A woman just stole, was it 17 billion that was suspended? Is it 17 billion? I think it was that was suspended.
There's so many pieces of text.
So much waste in government. So it's just to channel the money to the right place, the appropriate places where it will benefit this country.
Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Now, if this bill to establish 47 new universities in Nigeria does scale through, it will bring the number of federal-owned universities in Nigeria to 99. Take a look around you. The majority of Nigerian universities are in deplorable states, all right? Infrastructure-wise is zero. I don't even want to talk about the deficit in lecturers. Like my guest mentioned, a lot of these lecturers have left or they've jackpot.
You just had last week.
You're wondering who will actually lecture in these new universities when the old ones are still struggling.
They just said they found 100 fake professors. Yeah. The list is out there from NUC.
It's online if you care to look.
So, with this new university, are they going to manufacture lecturers for them?
All right.